Sahana vavatu sahanau bhunaktu sahaviryam karavavahai tejasvinavaditamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Krutau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavat Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Samasta Janakalyane Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Sadgurum Brahmavitvaram. Vyasam Vashishta Naptaram Shakte Pautramakalmasham Parasharatmajam Vande Shukatatam Ponidim Vyasaya Vishnu Rupaya Vyasa Rupaya Vishnave Namo Vai Brahma Nidaye Vashisthaya Namo Namaha. Hari Om. The topic for evening discourse is very unique. Mahabharata. Very rarely we see discourse given on Mahabharata. 2 years ago, during this time of COVID, we were all teaching virtually, and we did a full summer camp on Mahabharata for children. And I thoroughly enjoyed teaching it. And the high school students also, they thoroughly loved it. And I thought it would be a good idea if parents, if adults got a glimpse of what these children were exposed to, high schoolers. I had the great privilege, honor of teaching 9th and 10th graders. They were so amazed, to keep attention for hour and a half, for 2 months, and have them come back. That's a big achievement. That too on a virtual platform. And the interest for them to come back, that itself showed how much they got out of the lectures, that they wanted to log back in the next day just to find out how the story goes. So this year I decided that I would share some stories from Mahabharata. Obviously, in this 5 days, in total of 5 hours, how much can you cover? It is the most voluminous textbook known to mankind. So I invoke the grace and blessings of Ved Vyas Maharshi Ji. If we look at all other Samatic religions, all these religions, they have a founder. And when we look at Hinduism, we don't have a founder. And we say that our Vedas are the founder. But actually, Vedas are the founding principles. Somebody has to bring these founding principles to our attention so that we can integrate them in our living. And that job is of a guru. So if someone says, who is the founder of Hinduism, Mama Guru, my guru becomes the founder of this religion. This is the glory that our Sanatan Dharma puts on a guru. Guru is the very light which brings these concepts into living. And especially Ved Vyas Maharshi Ji, what can we say about Bhagwan Vyas Maharshi Ji? Shankaracharya Ji writes, Brahma Satyam Jagan Mithya, Jivo Brahmaiva Naparaha, Ardha Shlokena Vedanta. In this half a shloka, Vedanta is presented to us. Brahman is Satyam, the truth itself. Bas, that existence Satyam, and Jagan Mithya, and the world is illusion. Jivo Brahmaiva Naparaha. And in reality, there is no distinction between us, Jivas, and Absolute. There's a notional distance between me and truth. And this notion is created by whom? Us. At no point in time I am different from Bhagavan, but I have assumed the fact that I'm different from Bhagavan. And it is my notion that separates me from Bhagavan. And Vyas Maharshi Ji, his avatar, when he came, he looked at all this literature and he categorized it. And when he categorized it, he found two subjects. The subject matter of all this literature, he categorized, known as Vedas, only two: Brahman and Dharma. Bas. Brahma and Dharma, only two topics of the entire Vedas. And when Vyas Maharshi Ji looked at it, he said, Brahman is very easy. It's not much difficult. He wrote, for easy understanding of the Vedanta, the end portion, Vedanam Antim Nirnaya, the final declaration of Vedas, as I am that. He took this Upanishad and created a beautiful garland known as Brahma Sutra. So he addressed the easiest topic, Brahman. Now he looked at this topic of Dharma. He said, how should I approach this topic of Dharma? He thought about it. And he was inspired to write a story. He's a skillful, a master storyteller. And he produced this fantastic scripture, Mahabharata. And in this, he narrates the story of Dharma. He helps navigate various jivas in figuring out what is Dharma. When we look at the half a statement, half a shloka, Shankaracharya Ji says, Brahma Satyam. And Jagat Mithya, the world is illusion. This Jagat Mithya, it is in this illusion, this entire Dharma is upheld. When it comes to Brahman, the only actually Dharma is its Swarup. It is a Swarup Lakshana, and that Swarup Lakshana is Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. There is nothing other than that. So there is no such thing as Dharma for Brahma. The Dharma itself is existence, Satyam, bas, finished. But when it comes to Jagat, what is this Jagat? Gurudev used to very beautifully say about Jagat, Jagata. Ja, Jayate, that which is born. And as it is born, Gachati, it is gone. And in between, momentarily, Tishtati, it remains. Jagat. As it is born, it is going. Shankaracharya ji uses this Budbuddha iva varani, like bubbles in Atmabodh, he uses this phrase to explain the nature. It is extremely short-lived. And this short-lived Jagat is illusion. And in this illusion exists a platform upon which this cathedral of universe is created. And Vyas Maharshi Ji has to write a story about this. And when he looks at this cathedral of illusion, he realized that what is created, everything exists within the realm of Dharma. Every single object, every single yoni, a womb, even that little ant which crawls, looking for some scraps of fallen Naivedyam in the temple, or Brahmadi Stambha Paryantam, from Brahmaji all the way up to a pillar. All beings, all yonis, their dharma is defined. But when it comes to a human being, what to talk about a dharma of a human being? The most evolved species on the planet, yet it is the only species which transgresses all bounds of dharma. And because of that, he creates itihas. Literally, this is how it was. Itihas. Thus it was. And he thought, if a story was told about how people lived, through that example, people will have some fodder. People will have some substance, some tangible idea to unfold within the realm of their own life. And at least if swalpamapi alpasya dharmasya trayate mahato bhayat, Bhagavan Krishna says, even little bit of dharma comes, Bhagavan says, this paves the path for greatness. And that Gita is in the same scripture, Mahabharata. So Vyas Maharshi Ji takes this huge topic of dharma and he addresses in this fantastic fabric of Mahabharata. There are times when we hear these stories, it disturbs us. It raises our eyebrows. It pushes us into horripilation. He did not leave one topic unaddressed. I'm giving this is just a brief introduction. What must be going through the mind of a master author to compose such a voluminous textbook? And ideas kept on coming. And the ideas were coming so fast, he needed a skillful writer to put it all. And he summons Bhagavan Ganesh Ji. And he tells Ganesh Ji, you can only write down what makes sense to you after you understand it. Because he's verifying dharma. And he's Vignakarta and Vignaharta. Where? In the realm of dharma. Who other than Vinayaka would understand dharma? Thus he is called Visheshena Nayaka. Very well, having the ability to move in the realm of dharma, to lead, to guide. So it is not an accident that he summons Ganesh Ji. This dharma is to be verified. And Ganesh Ji verifies it. He thinks and he writes. And Ganesh Ji says, there should be a continuous flow. If you're asking me to understand and write, I am telling you, you should continuously dictate to me. And there is a reason behind it, because at no point in time our thoughts are at rest. They are continuous. So he demands that out of Vyasa, the guru who guides the jiva who has been hijacked by a thought. See, if we understand, it just becomes a Bal Vihar story. We tell a child in kindergarten that Ganesh Ji is writing. but there are deeper imports in it. When do we have a break in our thoughts? Today at the wedding, I was just thinking about this pravachan, and I'm thinking, Hari Om Swamiji, people who have not seen me in a while, and this mind has to come up with the name of the person and all those. Oh, you remember me? Of course I remember you. And knock on wood, the memory is still good. That thought was coming, and I was saying, just having our own internal dialogue with Medha Devi, thank God you haven't abandoned me. And how these lit thoughts, just about people, a ceremony going on, somebody's wedding, somebody's asking what's going on. It's a dialogue within a dialogue within a dialogue. And that is what this universe is. Physics calls it parallel universe. Array, in one universe, we have 100 things going on at the same time. Mother Durga having Pattishwara Namman with 16, 18 hands. How many hands we have and what all things we do. And we still have to uphold our life. In this study of Mahabharata, I learned one thing. My personal understanding, and everybody has their own. At the end of the marathon summer camp was over. Gurudev's Mahasamadhi, August 3rd, and I sat after Paduka Puja and I said, oh, tomorrow morning I don't have a class. Otherwise, that whole summer I had class. So I sat on August 3rd, 2020, in front of Gurudev. After Paduka Puja, I said, oh, I don't have class tomorrow. But what is one thing I have picked up in this camp, that according to me becomes the greatest message of Mahabharata? How can I integrate just one teaching of Vyas Maharshi Ji? And I realized it is speech. The less we speak, the more dharma we will follow. That's what I realized. All these convoluted stories coming out from one wrong sentence to a wrong person at a wrong time, and we have a war. Just a little statement. And I was thinking, in this get-together, in this wedding, people are dressed up. You just go and tell an amma who has taken time to put herself together, and you tell her, oh, your sari doesn't go well. And you just mention that, and you see what happens. You will have a yuddha in Orange County. One compliment slips, or even if we don't notice, oh, you didn't notice I had a haircut. little things are amplified. And one thought we incubate in the realm of our mind. The intellect just passes a thought and it gets incubated in our mind. And that incubated thought manifests as karma. And that karma has energy. Jnana Shakti created Ichha Shakti, creates karma, Kriya Shakti. So our entire life, these thoughts are running. Kriya is created. And this Kriya, it is the energy of the universe. It is alive. Action is not dead. It is alive. And only an alive person can tell a story. But the story has to be generated. And this Ichha Shakti, Jnana Shakti, Kriya Shakti, it becomes the root for the energy to flow. And once the energy is out, the energy has to bear fruits. And when the energy bears fruits, who else does it go to other than us? And when we look upon that fruit with a very frowny face, yet another Shakti is added to it. And it becomes a future Ichha Shakti with an added power. And the story continues. It is not over. It is not over. It is not over. When we zoom out of this textbook and we are trying to make sense, we realize how powerful our life is. We just take it for granted. We wake up in the morning, we brush, we get out of the bed, and we just start interacting with objects. Even if we leave the tap on and we are brushing and the phone rings and that Varuna Devata is just going. No, really, I'm not just like making up these things. There are curses by Devatas and we wonder, how did this happen? It is a live Devata in the tap. A puja on the stage and the wedding was done. A huge kalasha was there. And a Devata in there in the water. The whole hour was Varuna Sthapana. Punya Vachanam, and that same water is going. And we have neglected this Devata. Somebody glorified. Some engineer thought about storing it. The city is providing. And in our life, that we are living without awareness, we have disrespected a devata. And this body is 80% water. And the diseases will start right here. When we talk about Dharma, whose Dharma? That water has Dharma. Agni Devata in kitchen, it has Dharma. Panch Mahabhuta, 33 crore devatas are summoned to make your and my life comfortable. And Vyas Maharshi Ji has captured it all. He has captured the interaction between human beings and human being along with insentient objects, human being with devatas, everything he has captured. And how it affects the most rudimentary part in us, which is a thought, an idea. And that idea, that intellect which thinks thoughts, which is so personal, that personal idea, thought, collectively becomes a society. People spoke on Tuesday and Washington is rearranged, isn't it? I mean, a simple example. Some call it the blue wave, the red wave, whatever wave. These waves are ideas, thoughts, whatever it be. Collectively, one idea of each person, collectively, it becomes a total idea. And that totality now incubates individuality. An individual incubates an idea. Now the totality incubates the individuality. Individual dharma now in society. How am I going to live? Swamiji very beautifully last night spoke Nishchitartham. What is a nishchay? A resolution, Arthal, with this person I'm going to walk the rest of my life with. See, this is I'm taking some time away from these stories because these stories will make better sense when we get the total picture. The story of Ambika and Ambalika, what all Amba goes through. And the vairi, the enmity, not one birth, not two births, goes on. If we don't reject some of our basic ideas, which torture us, torment us, they are not gone. They will irrigate my life, not just tomorrow, future lives. And Vyas Maharshi Ji gives an epilogue of each one of these stories that you should know why this happened. A simple story. The whole thing is created by Shantanu and Ganga. Now, why these two? So he tells a story about these two in previous birth. None of us are accidents. None of us are accidents. The person who's sitting next to you, the person who's not sitting next to you, that also. Why is this person sitting? What is my relationship with them? How long have I walked with them? How long will I have to walk with them? Oh. We think Dharma is very simple. Actually, Dharma is very simple for a simple person. But Dharma is extremely complicated for a complicated person. The more complex a person is in Mahabharata, the more complex their story is. For example, Vidurji, very simple. From beginning to end, not much story about Vidurji. In fact, Vyas Maharshi Ji uses Vidurji's speech to teach us. It's called Vidur Niti. You know? That's why that day I sat and I thought, what is considered? What is one lesson? And I learned speech. Whom? Vidurji. He spoke only what was necessary, to the point, and he left it. Ultimately, prarabdha, we cannot do. May that person, even though they are the most closest to us, the one that we love the most, he very quickly realizes the one we love the most itself creates the most problems. And Vidurji, such a blemishless personality, Bhagavan comes to his home. A great palatial room with all food is put together by Duryodhan. But Bhagavan picks a simple person who has no complexities. If these few lessons we take and we implement. You guys are so blessed. We have learned Swamiji over here. When Mahadevanji called me and said, Yagni, I'm like, what can I take? Swamiji over here has done everything with you guys. Nothing is left untouched. You're doing Bhashya. Nirvishesh Vaktavyamas. What else remains to be? So I thought, let me address Vedanta, though you are getting from Swamiji. Cannot be any better than that. But then how do I implement? How do I live? That really is what Mahabharata is. It is not how much we know. It is, how little I put into practice, whatever little I know. Simple characters. They actually have divine life. There won't be any hoopla around them. But they have peace of mind. They have joy. They have happiness. And another thing, which Kunti mother says to Bhagavan Krishna, Vipadas santunaha. Oh Bhagavan, make calamities befall on my Pancha Pandavas and me, because in these calamities, I remember you. Ante Narayana Smritihi. Like, Bhagavan remains in our thoughts. That's it. Bhagavan also says, at the end, the one who remembers me, that person attains me. That's it. When will we remember Bhagavan? Ganesh ji had asked Vyas Maharshi ji, continuously you have to tell me. When will our mind, one thought of Ishvara, second thought of Ishvara, third thought of Ishvara, when will a continuous parade of the thoughts of Ishvara will come in our mind? When we have looked at this world and intellectually, mentally, we have not given it much reality. That's the only way. If we are doped in the societal life with a spouse, child, whoever it may be, continuously, this mother has carried the child for 9 months in her stomach. I continuously change diapers for 1.5 to 2 years. Raise them. It is not easy to get rid of the thought of the child for a mother. Her upasana is that child. What else? She hasn't had time for Ishwar upasana. So our relationships are born out of upasanas. She may come to a Vedanta class, listens about Upanishads, and as she's walking out, no, I hope he has had a good lunch. That'll be her thought. He's gone off to college, 18-year-old, finally got a chance to come to Vedanta class. And after the Vedanta class, the first thought is, oh, I hope he had a good lunch because I know he's vegetarian, dorm food, this, that. Again, the train of thought is only not Parameshwara, Ishwara, the son called Ishwar. Our upasanas are that. So difficult. And that same child grows up in this joy of marriage and then grandchildren and continues this parade. Daya is not here. Another, he was telling, Amma has great grandchildren. So it just goes on. The story is on. Our exit solely depends upon when we choose the exit. And that is what Kunti Mata says, Vipada Santunaha. Bhagavan, you should be in my thought. Bhagavan, you ever dwell in my mind. So this textbook it is not taught in the halls of Vedanta, but I feel there is nothing that prepares us better for Vedanta than the understanding brought out by Vyas Maharshi ji. Now, some people say, oh, Swamiji, I have heard if I read Mahabharata, there will be Mahabharata in my home. So, oh, I should not even have this book, Mahabharata. If we don't have Mahabharata, if we don't read Mahabharata, we will be dexterous in creating Mahabharata. Not that the book is creating. Our ill-informed intellect is creating our local Mahabharata. So, our Swami Shivananda very beautifully, he has written of Mahabharata as to how beautiful Mahabharata is. One who reads the story of Mahabharata becomes self-controlled. This is the Swami Shivananda of Rishikesh, Divine Life Society. This is not me. The person is blessed with good progeny and long life. Then Shivananda goes on to say, when we chant Vishnu Sahasranam at the end, there's Phalashruti, right? He's in the beginning itself, he's giving Phalashruti. Because nobody wants to read it, so he's putting it first. He said, you should see the Phalashruti first. Then he says, the one who thoroughly understands the story is never inclined towards unrighteousness, because the intellect absorbs the story And that intellect will not forget the story. This intellect, when it listens to Vedanta, the technicalities of Vedanta, it forgets. But the stories, it will not forget. Because the Antakarana is still little sthula. It's gross. So the story serves in preparing that. Thus, he's saying the person will not be inclined towards adharma. Then that person will never break friendships. This is very important, because when relationships are cut, it's not the end. We have taken this, shoved it into the annals of time for tomorrow. Very important that we learn to live a good life. If you don't want to say anything to anyone, Gurudev used to say, at least smile. And he used to say, that's why the motto of Bal Vihar is keep smiling, you know. These are the lessons to be taught to even children. That even if you don't want to, learn to smile like a flight attendant. She wants to smack the crap out of us, but she has to smile. Because every 5 minutes we are asking for something. We are doing the same thing. Every 5 minutes we are knocking the door of Mahamaya. This is not right. This is not right. This is a bad person. This person, don't even start about them. So this Mahamaya, like a flight attendant, we have to be very careful. Make up your decision and ask for one thing and say thank you. She will come back again with little bit more. So Shivananji says, do not, it will heal relationships. When relationships are healed, our story gets terminated. There is nothing further. There is no unfinished business. Wherever there is unfinished business, scene 2, Act 34 continues. It continues like King Lear. It goes on and on. At the end, it is still much ado about nothing. So, and then misappropriating other people's property. Shivananji has to mention this because, you know, even little things. Oh, I like your necklace. Where did you get it from? And we make a mental appointment with that gold. Really? Our appointment with that ornament, it is not over. We will look forward to next year's Dashera so it can be purchased. And this one has just gone by some 20 days ago. So the whole year will be, when is Dashera coming? When is Dashera coming? When is Dashera coming? these Kauravas, Pandavas, asked for the kingdom. No. Okay, 5 villages. No. 1 village. No. This eye on property, objects. It is called Hiranya Aksha. It's a demon, Hiranyaksha. And Hiranyakashipu, the one who worships the body and the one who worships matter, both are brothers. And they happen to be demons. So when we say property, what he's saying is, where does the intellect dwell? The dwelling places of buddhi is misappropriating property. Then violating people. What can be said of violating people when we read about Draupadi ji? I was just teaching to 9th and 10th graders. I got so emotional, choked. How can someone behave like this? A relative, not a next door neighbor, from the same family, a brother. So when we talk about this, today in this country, we are talking about public violence. What is the root behind it? Why do people behave like this? So Dharma about that. And then last thing Swami Shivananda says is, having gone through this, the person will entertain no evil thoughts. Just few things. Ved Vyas Maharshi ji, Shivananda ji talks about this beautiful scripture of Ved Vyas Maharshi ji, Mahabharata. What I will do is I will narrate the story. There is a reason, because in the narration, the intellect will absorb it. I think we all have our favorite teachers. Invariably, our favorite teacher will be a teacher who has perfected the art of teaching, the art of narration. In Bal Vihar, that storytelling, Gurudev used to say, don't teach a story. You become that story and just share that story, because in there is the lesson. So after the story, I will bring out how Dharma was missed. A perfect opportunity where Dharma was missed. And because of that, it weaves and spins off into another story. When we gather ourselves together after just reading this, and our life flashes, we try to see our life. It's a story. Each one of us will one day lie in state and somebody else will talk about our story. We are not there to hear it. Yeah, isn't it what they do at eulogy? An itihas of that person is revealed. But rather than wait until that moment, we should be in control of our itihas. That's all. Those characters who have grabbed their itihas, they are so perfect. No story has to be told about them. So in these upcoming few days, we will look at some of these in hopes that we can, magnify some of our life events and maybe perhaps revisit them so that we find ourselves in a better way. That's all. We are all sadhaks over here. We are all on this journey. And we all have to reach. Each one of us, there is no speed over here like on I-5. But if we are able to put some of these things together, we will inch towards a faster speed. Now, Texas has 90 on tollways. 80 was pushed to 85 and now 90. Between Austin and San Antonio, really fast. Who can drive on that road? The state says the faster the speed limit, the lesser the accidents. Why? Because people are more alert. When we examine our life and we are able to move faster, we've addressed situations, we are alert. That's all. That's all that's required, alertness. Sarve bhavantu sukhinah, sarve santu niramayah, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kaschit dukkha bhag bhavet. Om shanti shanti shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. We'll start with story of Shantanu and Gangaji tomorrow.